like to dance? I know a school where they teach dances. I could take you there if you'd like.
You know already that I am a very enthusiastic John Wick world fan. Yeah. And I was really excited to see Ballerina because I thought that it fit in perfectly and yet was different enough to attract like new folks into the franchise.
Yeah, good.
Now, in your opinion, what do you think is the heart of the world of John Wick? Why do we love it so much?
I don't know. How do I know? I mean, we put it out there. I mean, you know, from the original movie, which was a very good independent script, and then got picked up. I mean, it was a pleasure to do. I mean, the first one was, you know, just Keanu, me, William Dafoe, you know, some other very good actors, and it's an independent movie, which was a thrill to make. I mean, we're going back now. What? We're going back, was it 11 years? Is it? Something like that? Yeah.
So long.
No, 12. And you know, it's coming up to 12 years since we made it. First one we made at the end of 2013. But I think it was, the persona of Keanu fits the persona of this character. However they adapted it, however he adapted into playing it, or what they adapted to him, which I think that's kind of indivisible. It became a thing, and when you gave him all those qualities, if you know that a dead wife, somebody kills his puppy, steals his car, and he's an ex-hitman, I mean, and all the, you know, and the sort of the general vibe that Keanu gives out, which is of being a good guy, straight, fans love him. You know, they identify with him on whatever social media here. They identify very much so. And that came together in a good way. And that's what films are about. That's why Hollywood never knows what it's got a hit on its hands. That's why they get aggressive and scared at the same time because they don't know what makes a hit, you know. Otherwise, you'd never have a flop, would you, you know?
That's true. Oh, I'm still angry at Alfie Allen for that first film.
Still angry at Alfie Allen? Well, Alfie, who I know is a lovely kid, but he has the most slappable face in the world, you know, as he said to himself originally. So I've got a very slappable face, you know.
Well, and I feel like in this movie that her desire for justice, it rings even more true today than it would have in the past.
And I think it was, you know, having a very smart idea to bring a female character, especially embodied by the beautiful and talented Ana de Armas, you know, who's great girl, and to brought that in a way. I mean, I think, you know, people talk about, you know, reshoots and all that. It wasn't reshoots. It was new shoots because on a franchise like this, which obviously the studio wants to protect. And Chad having all done the others, and Len, I did think did a fine job on this. But when it came to, like, you know, looking at it again after they'd done, and they thought, we need this, we need that, whatever, and they can expand it, just make it more of the Wick world, incorporating the originality that Leonard brought into it. So it's homogenous yet different. Homogenous sounds like a terrible word. It's not, but it's got to be like the Wick films. Otherwise, it's not like suddenly like a standalone. Like if you made a film about, you know, Winston or whatever, that'd be a completely different thing. They're not. You have to keep it within. It's John Wick.
Consistent, I think, is another way to say it.
It's the John Wick franchise. This just happens to be called Ballerina. And you've met the character before, which I think was clever. Mm-hmm. You know, in the third John Wick movie. And having the relationship with Angelica and then coming through, and then Winston. That was the new shoots, having met her before. Which, you know, which they didn't have in it. They had in the original script, but then it got changed around because obviously when these films are done, they go through myriad script changes and ideas about who dies and who's left alive and who doesn't and whatever. You know, the only sad thing about this movie is the fact that, you know, it's the last time you'll see Lance partaking in these movies, you know, which was a shock for me.
I know.
When it happened, you know, but it's like, wow, he's forever ingrained on the celluloid, which is nice for us to recognize.
Now, I know in the past you've been somewhat reluctant to reveal any of the backstory of Winston that you've thought of in your mind. Have you changed your stance on that at all? Is there something you can share?
I always, you know, there was a talk about, I mean, the television show made that sort of prequel they did, whatever. I don't know. It's nothing to do with me. But I always thought if you were going to do a background on Winston and Sharon, they didn't come from a criminal world. They came from the world of, I think more sort of like government, which becomes, when you leave government, that's when you become a criminal. Or you're a criminal when you're in the government, and you just expand your horizons, your opportunities when you leave. I mean, operatives. I mean, I did a film my own called American Star, which is a guy who's worked for the government as it was a soldier, sniper. And what do you do when you leave? Your qualifications are limited but lethal. So you go into the private business, and that's what they did. And that's how the high table operates, with this mixture of, the connections through the Ruska Roma and the other criminal organizations throughout the world, whatever, and governments involved. I mean, I think part of the reason why that Wick is popular too is because of the amount of conspiracy theories that people come out with on social media, which may be true or not, whatever rabbit hole they choose to go down, but they choose to go down the John Wick rabbit hole. That's fine by us,
That's right. We're all kind of obsessed.
Yeah, but I mean, the shows but I think they've been consistently good about the character. They also have a sense of humor, sly sense of humor. The movies, they're not. The characters don't try to be funny every time, which I think ruins these kind of movies when they go, oh, it's a buddy movie. No, not that kind of movies where they, you enjoy wisecracks the whole time. They come out of real situations, or the humor, like the fact that, I loved in John Wick 3, all the fanboy assassins, like they do, and they still continue to this day. But that's kind of part of, because, we're doing this is a movie. This is not real life. This is supposed to take you away for 2 hours somewhere else. And at the end you go, wow, that was terrific, Had a great time. Now we'll go and have sushi, whatever. And you talk about the movie. And that's why Wick is good, because it takes you away somewhere else. But when people, want to invent their conspiracies, that's fine. That's fine by me.